So what is going on, guys? It's Triple G here, back with another Tiny Tina's Wonderlands video. In today's video, spoiler warning, we will be going through a couple of side quests on screen. Not the full side quest, just some footage from the side quest. So if you don't want to see any footage at all, feel free to get rid of this video. I appreciate the support anyway. But if you don't mind just seeing some gunplay and some action, then stick with us. We're going to be going through why I think you should be buying Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. So with the spoiler warning out the way, let's talk about the feel of the game first. Now, if you've played Borderlands 3 before, or if you've never played Borderlands at all, or any of the Borderlands series, this gunplay, this feel of the game feels like many other crispy first-person shooters that you've played before. Borderlands 3 took a massive step forward from Borderlands 2 in terms of gunplay. This has built on it a little bit further. The gunplay feels crisp, like it did in Borderlands 3, but they've upgraded the movement. The movement feels even better. Some mechanical changes to even the fact that you can now jump and slam in one movement and don't have to have like a minimum height. Just feels really, really good. The traditional mantling and jumping and firing and hip firing and all that kind of stuff feels really, really good in this video game. They have also toned down the visual effects, which is one of the criticisms in Borderlands 3. From what I've seen, even though we have spells going off, our action skills going off, we're able to go into third person on some of these classes, we are still able to keep, in my opinion, what was 100 to 120 frames FPS on PC. Now, just bearing in mind that I was only playing a certain amount of the video game, a certain map with a certain amount of side missions, but I still had very good performance and I thoroughly enjoyed my time. The next subject that we want to talk about is the loot. Now, this wouldn't be a Borderlands universe game without the loot, and the loot here is very, very bountiful. Enemies will pop out with lots of loot. There is loot for rings, amulets, there is loot for your melee weapon. Then you have the traditional brands, which have been kind of twisted in Tiny Tina's mind. So you have the doll, but it's got a bit of a twist to it. The revolver's got a bit of a twist to it. It feels really, really good. However, the legendaries have been toned down, which I think is a great move for Wonderlands. In my couple of weeks that I played the game, I didn't actually get any legendaries whatsoever. But bear in mind, I didn't try and farm for any either. Now, what they said is that legendaries will be less prominent, more special and more powerful, which I think is a strong move for Wonderlands. In Borderlands, legendaries just flew everywhere, and in some people's opinion, they lost their special kind of feeling, and you just had every slot full of legendaries and they didn't really feel that great. However, in Wonderlands, when you get them, you are going to feel like a bona fide badass, which I think is a really good move. Then onto the enemy type. So I played in a goblin kind of map arena. So majority of the enemies were goblins, but there were multiple variations of goblins, from small guys to guys that were imbued with fire to huge guys in medieval armor. Then there was the wyverns that were coming around. There was multiple versions of the wyverns. There was sharks that would come out and jump out at you as well. So there was multiple different enemy types within this one area as well. Felt really, really good. The variation, their attack types, different ways that you had to deal with them, felt really, really good as well, and stands good for the rest of the game when we get to see it on March 25th. Then there was the storytelling. Now, what was described to us was that we were playing a major quest. So see that is, if you ever played a game like Skyrim where you played the Thieves Guilds or the Brotherhood, these are major quests. So these major quests that I was able to play, as well as side quests, they had really, really good voice acting from the cast that they have selected for this video game. And that because you had voices that you were familiar with, I was immediately invested in these side quests. Now, I'm a person that usually would skip cutscenes. I'm not really that interested in the story, but I found myself drawn in listening to these people. And also what they did, which was really good, was you were able to continue on playing without having to stop and wait and listen to people very often indeed. So it is really, really good. A side note on that as well, the little visual art that came up on the screen was absolutely fantastic when these guys were speaking. Top marks for that visual art. Then we have the UI and the skill trees. Now, the first thing that you're going to see when you go into Wonderlands that's different to any other Borderlands game is that you're going to select a class and you're going to have a single column of skill points to go down at the start. Once you've gone through the story for a while, you will get a second column that you can select from any of the other classes in Wonderlands, meaning that the possibilities in Wonderlands are greater than any other Borderlands game in its history. Borderlands 3 had hundreds of builds by the time it got to a couple of years into its release. Wonderlands will have thousands. You can choose any class once you get certain part way through the story. So the possibilities are absolutely endless. Absolutely endless. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. When you couple that with the fact that we've got the ring slots, the earring slots, the melee weapon is an actual slot as well, you're going to have such a good time if you are a build maker in Wonderlands. Apart from that, then we have the usual kind of screens as well, with the map screen, the journal screen, all like that. Just a side note on the map, because there are no vehicles in Wonderlands, it does feel like the map is much larger and the enemies seem to repopulate themselves in certain areas. So it always kind of felt alive when I was playing the video game, which was really, really good. Now, they're not confirming or not whether we will need to save quit. I think we still will need to save quit for bosses, but having those enemies kind of repopulate themselves just kept us going, kept the XP ticking over. You were able to still use your build as you were going through and just kept everything feeling quite alive. So overall, the big question is, am I going to recommend you buy Wonderlands? And I'm going to split that up into 2 seconds. If you've played Borderlands 3 before, you're going to love this game. It feels like Borderlands 3, but taken up a notch with the aesthetics, the voice play. Everything feels a little bit better than in Borderlands 3, which is a fantastic thing. Now, if you haven't played Borderlands 3 or any of the Borderlands games before, but you're wondering on whether you should buy this game, it feels very similar to first-person shooters. The button systems, the layouts feel very familiar. Then you just have loot. It just comes at you. Pick up a gun, try it. If you don't like it, you move on. And as you start to build your knowledge of the video game, that's when you can start getting to the build mastery. And we all started somewhere once. Wonderlands could be the one for you. So that's it for today's video, guys. If you have enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to the channel or join us over on Twitch. We stream 5 times a week, and otherwise, I'll catch you on the flip.